Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Covenant Cast. I'm your host, Zach.
And I'm Steven, and on this episode, we are covering everything about Netrunner in its current and future form. Because if you haven't heard, it's not getting printed anymore. Bummer. Stay tuned. Zach, let's dive right in here. This is okay. So we should cover the news. So basically, can I just get this off of my chest, the collective chest?
Well, I mean, the thing is, we're going to talk about Netrunner.
It blows. It really blows.
Yeah, we got hit with a surprise.
I'm upset.
I want to tell you about the story about how I learned about this news.
Happy.
Surprised. But before we dive into those topics and stuff, we're going to be answering a couple questions from the listeners about Netrunner. We're also going to be answering some questions about some other things at the end. And let's just run it down really quick on this week, everything else going on before we just wholesale jump into Netrunner, which we will be talking about. And I think it has implications for way more than just Netrunner, right? So a lot of these people asking questions about is this other game safe, or what's going to happen there? So we'll get to that. FFG also posted with that the State of the LCG article. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah, it was kind of a hey, everything's cool was the idea I think behind it.
Like the other LCGs are fine.
Yeah, it's like which is
that's how it read. That's how it looked on the outside. You know what I mean?
It wasn't like. It wasn't particularly insightful, I guess I would say. It was like a lot of just I want to keep making the game and making it cool and making it good. And like Brad specifically mentioned Unicorn being underpowered, which I know a lot of Alpha VAR players are happy to hear, at least that validated.
That is the recognition from the designers, yeah.
But it's also it's at least some forethought, I think, that is nice to see from ANA.
This news was going to hurt.
That we understand this and we're addressing these concerns up front. So I professionally, I think that's one of the better things that they've done is to head that off at the pass, because it could have gone down an ugly road.
Yeah. So as far as Destiny is concerned, which you knew I was going to talk about,
I'm going to move as fast as possible
off of this topic. Yeah. So Sunday, we want to make everyone aware. If you've been paying attention to our Covenant Masters announcements and stuff and prizes and whatnot, Sunday, June 17th is the final day to sign up for that. There is a deadline because we have to have packs for everyone and prizes. There's some exclusive stuff being made that we are making for people. So if you want to play on the June 23rd qualifier here in Covenant Tulsa, June 17th Sunday is when you have to sign up.
You can't walk in and register. That's one of the key things I understand.
That has happened. That's happened at a regional where we are sold out and someone just walks up, which is not good. But if you want to see more on that, we're posting a whole video about that, and you can check out our social media and whatnot. We also have been, we're not going to talk about it here, but inundated with previews. It's spoiler season. Every podcast and their mom is posting previews right now.
It must be very hard for you to not, want to talk about that, the whole cast.
Yeah, I mean, there's 20 new cards.
Netrunner must be very important ultimately to you, deep down in your heart.
I mean, I was literally last Thursday playing Netrunner at the local event.
I was there.
The day before the announcement. So anyways, one other thing I wanted to mention, or two other things. One on Destiny, one on X-Wing.
Okay.
On Destiny, we still have the Way of the Force Saga sets.
Yes.
We assume that set's going to come out in the nearest future. So if you pre-order now, it's shipping within 1 week. There's only so many of those left. If you want that, you can hop on that. And then on X-Wing, we also posted our Everything That's Changed video.
Yes.
With Alex. It's an extensive look at basically all the changes and it's nothing new or revealing about what has changed, but
it's a clearer picture.
If you want to know all the stuff that's changed and why it changed, and what they were thinking and kind of the design process behind it, that's a cool video. And for the people that have already left incredible comments and shared it, and there's a lot of really good responses to it, thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of work that goes into those videos, and so to have that rewarded with positivity is always very enjoyable on our end.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice.
I'm hyped.
Thank you to all of you.
I wasn't on the podcast last week or the week before, I don't think, and they spoiled the whole Rebel conversion kit on their live stream at FFG.
How about that? Get into the live stream game.
Which I'll be honest, one of the best things about X-Wing 2.0 is I don't have to care about the Rebels anymore.
Yeah.
So it was the least exciting one they could have chosen for me personally, but it was cool because I think people are starting to realize how much is in those conversion kits into second edition.
I'm starting to realize it. It's hard to quantify whenever you're just hearing about this idea, but when you start to see things, it makes it a lot different.
I'm pretty pumped.
Honestly, I've seen it. I've seen now at this point, I think the initial, kind of I would say 10 to 20% outrage at second edition happening.
Change.
It's gone. I haven't seen that.
Well, and I think
anymore.
Anytime there's change, people are potentially going to get upset.
Netrunner.
That's
for
normal.
Instance.
That's change is hard.
I'm upset.
But at the same time, I think the people that now have more information, have learned more, have come around to it, and then the people that were truly upset are probably just gone.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
That's fair enough.
Like everything is not for everyone, unfortunately. But
That'd be nice.
I'm excited to
wouldn't
see it. Yeah, that's just not how the world works.
Hey, let's get through the. What's your week? Do you got a week? I watched Blade Runner. Was it 2049?
2049? Finally.
You know, the crazy thing about it being called 2049 is that is like not far away.
We're getting there.
And you know, it maybe the scenes that I was seeing are not far away either, which is
So
a terrifying
I know
thought, but
it was hyped up a little bit because we've been telling you to watch it for a while.
it's clearly gunning for favorite movie ever.
Yeah. All right.
for
Cool.
me,
Yeah, I
so,
thought
like,
you'd love it. It's kind of like
It's unbelievable.
It was great.
It's everything. If you want to know what I want a movie to be, that's pretty much it. Whole lot of atmosphere, whole lot of mood.
slow.
Good characters.
Intentionally slow.
Slow. It's the kind of the key thing is you have, and this is what Star Wars. I feel like I liked the most about Star Wars, especially the originals exclusively. The details that were just kind of in the distance and just kind of thrown around the universe made it feel real and lived in and meaningful without shoving it in your face. And anytime a movie is taking the pains to realize its own environment and atmosphere without needing you to recognize it and putting a shine to it and putting it right in front of you, Porgnation, etc., that
Don't get me started.
That's when it's great. That's
Yeah.
when it's great. Like I heard Jonathan was telling me that even the tiny, like the small characters, the small roles that happened, they recorded like little mini movies of those characters, like getting to that point, just to inform the actors and actresses what their character ultimately is and went through.
That's really cool.
And didn't even show it. So that's what I'm talking about, Zach. When I'm talking, that's a real. And this director, I loved the Arrival. I love Sicario.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just my guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately, I didn't know this until well after the fact, but like it ultimately was received mediocre at the box office.
Which one? Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
Gosh,
so it did well
so good.
in reviews, but at the same time, it was just medium received. And so, like, unfortunately, I feel like I'm part of, again, not everything for everyone, back to that sentiment.
Yeah.
I would love to see a lot more movies like that. Like, that is art that film is art that I really appreciate.
That movie was art.
Yeah, and that's how I felt, right?
gorgeous.
That's how I felt when I was watching, like, Mr. Nobody. Same kind of category of, like, you're just, like, you're create an experience here. But hopefully we continue to see, I would love to keep seeing movies like that.
Yeah, so good. And it
Very
feels
much
very,
so.
and there were so many scenes that actually reminded me of Netrunner so much. Like, whenever from the middle of luxury / nowhere, you're calling in missile strikes on just some random, essentially trash heap / orphanage. That's amazing. A boom goes through my head, like Wayland Corporation flashes through
that's
my
cool,
head. It was just so awesome.
I thought you would dig that movie quite a bit.
So good. What about you? Did you do anything new?
So last time I was on, I revealed that I had turned 30.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that's happened to me
Surprise.
since then is...
Still 30?
I'm still 30, but I went to Chicago and went to a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, yeah. That's
I know
right.
we have our illustrious Taylor Swift reputation
People
review
love
episode.
that podcast, man. I got to tell you. There's
Well,
a lot of...
it's just like The Last Jedi, and the people either loved that podcast or hated that podcast.
You gotta take chances.
But it was incredible. I've been wanting to go to one of her shows for a long time, and I knew that she was going to be touring during my 30th birthday year.
Did you slip the idea into the idea stream
Yeah,
for
it
your
happened
fiance?
for everyone that is, considering getting me something. But the short version is, went to the concert, had really great seats. Didn't even have seats. Had really great standing.
You were in the pit, is that what
Yeah.
it's called? So you were like you were like pretty close. Like you showed me some videos and it's like, there's Taylor right there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Was it worth it? I mean, is it too shiny? Is it fake? Is it overproduced? Is there a genuineness left to it?
I think it's very genuine. Like I always really I saw Paul McCartney, who I'm a big fan of, a couple years ago, and like he talked a lot, which I loved. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels like it was great. So she talked quite a bit. It is a big show and it's produced and it's doing a thing, but whether or not it's real or fake, one of the things I've always liked about Taylor Swift is like I do actually feel like she's just being her.
There's a genuine
Take
side
it or
of that.
leave it, like it or not. That's not the dilemma.
I think that's her whole shtick, man. I mean, I really do think that's it.
Yeah.
You actually,
and if she's acting, she's doing a great job.
she's an incredible actress.
Doing a
Maybe
great
so.
job. But yeah, no, it was really fun. And then the best part of it was like 80% through the show, it started raining. And it's like, it was at Soldier Field, so it's outdoors.
Yeah.
And she just played the last 20, 30 minutes of the show in the rain.
That's great.
Which was awesome.
Those are fun. Those little like weird things that happen.
Yep.
All right. Well,
and also last week, I found out that one of my favorite games of all time is going to cease to exist.
Oh, right. Yeah, we all found that out.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. So this is a bummer. Just to kind of frame the conversation, I think a little bit, what seems to have happened to me, and we get the opportunity, and we're very thankful for it, to interview people like Michael Boggs, and we have those kind of working relationships.
The developer on Netrunner right now.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
those that don't know.
Yeah, sorry about that. For those that don't know, he is the developer at this time, and we get access to those designers, and that's really awesome, and we're happy to have that. But on a change like this, we have no idea. We have no information. There's no that's not where that relationship is for us.
Well, so for me, I found out. I was driving down to Austin with my mom and my brother to go to my cousin's graduation this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's Friday. I'm the one driving.
Literally last night, played some Netrunner.
Yeah, and the night before I played Netrunner at the tournament at Tulsa. Tim, my little brother, who's played Netrunner since the beginning, was in the back. I'm just driving, and then I hear, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah, Tim's really bought into it. He's a huge fan.
That response, and then he's like, Netrunner's dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, what? We just got the revised core set.
We got the revised core set. We got rotation. The vibe we can feel in the community, even here locally,
so
is like
even
the
on
excitement is coming back. Everyone's kind of drinking the Kool-Aid again, right? And then on Friday, if you're unaware, they announced that basically, because Netrunner, the system was designed originally by Richard Garfield, and that system
97, 98
was owned by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. And they licensed the Netrunner system to Fantasy Flight Games back in 2011, 2012 when the game was coming out. And then Fantasy Flight applied their Android universe to Netrunner. So that's why it's called Android Netrunner, right? But they announced that the license was not being renewed and that Rain and Reverie, which is a box that just this week switched to shipping, so it'll be out in the next couple weeks, will be the last release for Android Netrunner, the LCG.
Right. Yeah, that's it. So it really blows. It's a total bummer, and there's something about, I don't know if it was special. I don't know if there's a uniqueness to the emotional connection that the Netrunner community at large had to the game and each other. And because every time this kind of thing happens, you always tend to think oh, this is a different, it's unlike anything else that other players have experienced or something.
I think every
there's something
game
about
community is special.
Yeah.
And anytime that you find a game that you love like this, and love is real, right? The people that love this game, and
it's a different kind of love too, because it was so. It was offering something that you just couldn't get anywhere else. Okay, so hashtag real talk. If I'm playing a Game
as
of
compared
Thrones
to the rest of the stuff,
or L5R or Conquest, if I look at those three games, they are doing things differently, certainly, and there are great reasons to play each one of those and certain mechanics and changes and whatnot. But they feel like they're in the same family of game, right? Where I'm committing resources to play things onto the board, and then I'm attacking with those things and defending with those things and trying to do it better than my opponent.
Which is, that's magic, right?
Right.
You're playing things, attacking things, killing,
etc.
etc.
Netrunner was outside. It was a new box for me. Whenever I played that game for the first time, that was a totally new kind of experience that I didn't even recognize was possible with a card game, because my entire history had been playing stuff and attacking, right? Yeah. And then it's well, what is this? And it's a hide and seek kind of a thing, and it's incredible. So I do think that it's warranted to feel a certain special loss to this, because there's an incredible amount of magic behind that system. And that was felt and latched onto immediately by a lot of people.
Well, and I think that's one of the big differences is that I think most of the time, even Thrones, right? I think the people that play the game love that game.
Absolutely.
And when you get to interact with people that share that love of something, no matter what it is, it could be Taylor Swift for all that matters, something special does happen. But the thing about Netrunner was it got big, and it got big fast.
Yeah.
And it was the first LCG, I think, that got that big. Yeah. Right, because Thrones had been out for a while, and there was it's not Arkham Horror, it was the one before, Call of Cthulhu, that had been out, right? And I think Warhammer Invasion had been a LCG or something like that. And so, but Netrunner, like, it popped. I'll never forget that Gen Con when X-Wing and Netrunner came out.
Tell me your first experience with Netrunner.
My first experience.
It's with Matt, wasn't it? My first one was with Matt Garrett in the store playing the
Oh,
old Netrunner.
yeah. I was
Remember
like, I immediately thought of the Gen Con, but Matt Garrett, one of the locals, brought in the old Netrunner. And that's how I learned how to play Netrunner.
And that was it. And
time.
we both kind of saw it and were like, whoa, like they were onto some stuff back in the 90s that I wasn't aware of.
Richard Garfield's a savant.
Really amazing. And like the Vampire the Masquerade is kind of a similar thing, or the Eternal Struggle, the TES. There was some crazy like stuff going on, and it kind of got lost in the collectible shuffle.
Yeah, and all the games that were coming out and dying.
Yeah, and now it's like, wait, there were some mechanics back here that were unbelievable.
And in the first version of the game, they got a lot of things wrong too.
Oh,
there was not a limit on the number of any cards you could have in your deck.
That's not wrong. That's hilariously interesting.
It's like
your just balance has to be crazy.
Yeah, it's like you can literally run 60 copies of the same card in your deck, and it's like that's interesting. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, it popped at Gen Con 2012, and it, along with X-Wing, kind of became the thing. Now, if X-Wing hadn't come out, I think that we would be in a totally different place with Netrunner, because at that point, you have to hitch your wagon to that horse.
Yeah.
And we saw things like the Plugged In Tour that were like starting to try to do some weird new things. We saw those IDs, those alternate IDs, like I have that Ambien alt ID that was shopped around, voting on which character is going to be in. So there was a kind of this sense of like there's some energy here that needs to be captured.
There was also, again, there was the first LCG that I think got to a certain scale. That meant that the organized play kits and the world championships and the regionals had to go to a new height, right? Like it needed more than this and could support it, right? I think that's the other part of that. So Netrunner was very special in that way too, where it was like the community saw that evolution happen of how it was even being handled, and they felt like they were part of that. And so anytime you feel like you're a part of something and then official support for it's getting taken away, I've played many games that have died, and like it's one of the worst, because even if I presume there will be groups that keep it going, keep playing Netrunner. People will be playing Netrunner forever. Netrunner, the LCG from FFG. And there may even be like committees that form to keep making new cards and new sets.
We've seen it happen a million times over.
But it's always, once a game goes away like this officially, it changes.
Yeah.
Like there's just less people, there's not stores that are hosting events, there's down the line, right? And maybe Netrunner will be the first to, it seems like the kind of game that a community could take over in a fun way.
If there's going, I mean, man. Okay, so the reason that let's just trace the history a little bit more, because I think that's important, is you have that kind of initial burst, and it's going really well. And then over time, you get the same kind of drag that you felt on essentially any game that you're releasing, certainly in the LCG format, what we've seen. And some design decisions and whatnot. But it really, I think it came to a head around, we always cite the Mudbad cycle, like that period of development where there was this kind of thinking / thought / feeling that this just isn't the same Netrunner that I was playing. There's certainly arguments to prove that it actually is the exact same, and there's arguments to say that it isn't. But regardless of the logic and the rationality behind it, I think we lost a lot of players during that time, myself included. And it's rare that a game can ever even hope to recover from that kind of shedding, especially in LCG, because there's not... The thing about the model right now is there's not ever been a let's run an awesome promotion to get more players in the game 3 years in.
Yeah.
It's always like fanfare up front, hope it lasts. Right?
Well, and that's basically get as many people as you can up front.
Yeah.
And then cruise on that for as long as you can.
And then cruise and then close the doors.
We've seen, they recently announced those House Starter decks for Thrones, which I was so happy to see, which is an LCG gets to a certain size and it gets difficult to get into. But then with Netrunner, the thing about it that's maybe the most devastating is that at the end of last year, they put out the revised core set.
Yeah.
They had rotation for the first time.
It actually happened. They brought it back. Like it was working.
It was working. The vibe was changing, and then the rug gets pulled out from under.
Well, here's the key. So the vibe is one thing, and we should definitely talk about that, because there's something that you feel. It's even in online communities and interacting with that on a daily basis, going to a local store, talking to other players. You're essentially dealing with energy, right? With just player energy and involvement and excitement. And you felt it, like this past month especially, it was so turning. And that doesn't reflect immediately in like the bottom line for A&A, for instance. But you saw that this thing was actually back on the upswing, which is never, I mean, I've never seen that with a game that starts to go down.
I'm trying to think. I mean, you obviously
Like
on
40K maybe has
on a
done
macro,
it.
40K and Magic have done that where it's like they had weaker periods and then they kind of got back, but it was never like, there was a point at Netrunner maybe a year ago
It's like mission critical. It's
where
like
I was
blinking
like,
red lights.
I'm not sure this game is going to keep on keeping
Yeah.
if something major doesn't happen. And then something did. That was the shocking part.
And it sold out.
The revised core set did
Almost
sell out.
immediately.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, right? So the revised core set sold out, and so you frame this beautiful scenario for disappointment. Now we have the deluxe expansion.
And the players know it sold out, by the way.
Oh, it's sold out because nobody can get it,
Yeah.
right? So there's this incredible excitement because the revised core set was a huge success, which if you're a player, you know, you're thinking like, well, this bodes extremely well. There's a lot more people out here than I maybe was expecting that want this game. Our Learning Netrunner series was like, not blowing up, but like hugely
Traction.
successful for us.
A lot of traction.
Huge amount of traction. A lot of people saying, I've been wanting to get in for a long time. This revised core set is time for me to do it. This game looks amazing.
Well,
like
and we were waiting on the reprint, but we had a ton of people on, you can sign up for wait lists on products that are out of stock on our store. For the revised core set for Netrunner, that list was big.
Massive, yeah.
A lot of people wanted to get into this game. And then, that's the other crazy thing.
The Rise core set comes back in stock. We have Rain and Reverie, the deluxe box, has finally broken that faction-specific nonsense and is offering a sustainable way forward indefinitely that you can keep releasing every 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. Deluxe expansion that introduces theme and new things, isn't tied to a faction. Seems like everything's rosy. Katara Cycle well received. We have a lot of people doing our revised core set plus Katara Cycle formats. It just feels like the momentum has turned, and almost at the exact moment is when this announcement hits. The exact moment.
Yeah, because I was literally, Netrunner has always been a very, it would be the game I play if it weren't for Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
Because like X-Wing came out immediately, right?
That is a long, long list of games.
And like, but there was a long time where Star Wars games were coming out, right? And
Yeah.
but X-Wing came out, then the Star Wars LCG came out, then Imperial Assault came out, then Star Wars Destiny came out, even Armada came out during that phase. Legion has now come out, and so like, Destiny is, I'm addicted
It's
to that
answering
game.
everything
It's
that
a
you've
problem.
ever
It's
prayed
kind
for.
of like Netrunner, but Star Wars vibe. But anyways, I've always at least had like an arm's length connection to Netrunner and kept playing. And like I was literally last Thursday, I had a couple of my friends, Tim and Philip from Philip J. Keys locally, built a deck.
Yeah.
One Corp, one Runner for me, because we have a regional later this month. And I was like, all right, it's time. Like
I'll play the
Destiny
regional,
competitive
right?
season's over. I'm gonna take a little break, play some Netrunner, have a good time, and then just got
Yeah, did the exact same
slammed
thing.
down,
It was
yeah.
in there, we got to play. But the key thing here is that you kept your foot in the door on Netrunner like so many other players because you knew that it was an incredible game.
yeah, and hoped that it would
Something really good.
return,
Just
right?
really, really good. So here's the deal. So this has all happened, right? So now Rain and Reverie is the final thing, and there's a lot of conspiracy about how it had the Omega symbol as its faction, its like little indicator. So who knows how long this has been known. The timing is, I mean, it's always going to be awkward when to make this announcement where it's like, as soon as the revised core sets come back in stock for retailers is when
Yeah.
you announce it. So is it like, do we have to speculate now that A&A is like, okay, well, we've known this for X amount of months, and we have just reordered all of these revised core sets. Probably happened after that point, something with the licensing. And so it's like now they come over, and it's like, well, we can't announce it's going nowhere because then we have like all these revised core sets that are potentially dead weight. That turned out not to be the case, but we'll go there next. So then they get these all through distribution into retailers, and then they announce it, and that seems weird too, because now you're just shifting the loss, presumably, onto what's supposed to be the pillars of your business model.
Sure.
So it's all around awkward and weird and hard, and it seems very much like it is unexpected and unlooked for A&A at least.
Yeah, I mean we can spin conspiracy theories all day long, right?
Oh,
on, like,
please.
what happened?
Bring it on.
But like ultimately, the reality is, none of the things that were happening made it seem like this was going to happen.
No,
which is why
there were
shocking.
no signs.
If they had announced this a year ago, like, hey, we're not going to renew the license, or it didn't work out, we're not going to do it, it's
Yeah.
going to end. I don't think anyone would have even been shocked. It would have been like, well, unfortunately,
Yeah.
the game got to a bad place, and
the
here
way
we
it
are.
is.
But like everything we've talked about leading into, it doesn't seem like it was known significantly long ago that this license wasn't going to get renewed.
Right. So now let's speculate a little bit.
Spin me a tale.
I don't know a lot about licensing, obviously. But there's the only reason that this happened. There's money, right? Follow the money always. Follow the money.
Look to see who would benefit.
Look to see who will benefit. Follow the money. So, one, essentially, yeah, we want to keep this license going. It's cool, but your game's more successful now. We're revisiting. We made this deal, let's say 5 years ago. We see now that Netrunner is a success because we get a cut of the profits, and those numbers have gone up. We think that you should be paying more for the license.
Yeah.
ANA says if we pay that much, we won't make enough money to justify creating the product. Can't come to an agreement. Have to cut off the licensing deal, and it's over.
Yeah, okay? And there's just the basics of a license. Typically, is that Company A licenses something from Company B. Right, they agree maybe an upfront fee or a yearly fee, and then there's also usually like a percentage cut of every sale thereafter, right? So it could be that Wizards got paid so much upfront or every year, and then every pack that sells of Netrunner from Asmodee/FFG to distribution or retailer or whatever, they get a slice of.
Right.
And the other part of not only has the game been successful since the original license, which of course, if you're Wizards and you have a game that you made in the 90s that you haven't printed in 20 years, and a company comes to you and says, hey, we want to pay you money to make a game out of this, you're probably going to say yes.
Yeah.
Especially an LCG that isn't competing with your bread and butter, your Magic collectible card game, really at all. But at the same time, not only did they release Netrunner and we have all the stats on, like, here's what Netrunner's worth to you now, so maybe they want more money, but you also have the fact that in 2011, Fantasy Flight Games was a very different looking company.
Very different.
They were much smaller. This is before X-Wing, before Netrunner, before the Star Wars license.
Before Asmodee.
Before Asmodee. So they got big enough to merge with Asmodee to become one of the... We did the State of the Industry earlier this year. And it's like, they have a lot of the games on the list. And they're competing, right? And they also have since put out their first collectible game.
Right.
Like... Since the license, right? They put Destiny out, which is a Star Wars collectible game. That can be threatening. So, like, there's also the angle of maybe Wizards just didn't offer it to them, or
even then. Okay, so even then, it's still about the money, right? Because they're either saying we're going to gain more market share by taking this away than we would by getting the money from the license directly.
Yeah.
Which to me is very hard to believe, right? It really is. Like, Netrunner as a successful LCG is still nowhere near like a Magic or a 40K or a Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of market share, I think it still represents a very small blip.
At least you're getting a slice
in
of
the market, and at least you're getting some cash out of that.
It seems like it had to have been, and I don't know, I literally know nothing about this, but it seems like it had to have been either the price, the value that Wizards saw in the license was higher than ANA could or was willing to pay to keep it, or the real string theory here is Wizards has something else going on, right? Which is maybe, there's the wild speculation about that video game. I forget the name of it. Something 2077.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
just got announced and hyped at E3, and everybody's crazy about it.
Wizards has that license and is going to put it on this game. Or maybe Wizards wants to make a new collectible game.
Or maybe they partner with the Bladerunner, like from the movie that
or
we
the
talked about.
Bladerunner. Or maybe they are going to make a digital version of the game.
Right.
And they want to
That seems to me the most reasonable.
I think it makes a lot of sense for this to be a digital game. They have a platform that lets you play Magic online, and so like
they've seen maybe Jinteki and various
they
other
could
Jinteki.net
literally.
and that kind of thing.
I honestly this is one of the struggles with licensing is like, most Netrunner players would try it out.
Yeah.
And it's not about like brand loyalty. It's
Netrunner
Netrunner
loyalty.
This game
is incredible.
They love this game.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I don't know, and we'll see, I guess, in time, but like there were things that changed from the 90s Netrunner to the Android Netrunner game, and I'm not sure who owns the changes.
That's interesting. And there's a lot of people that are bought into the Android universe. Like, and it does seem like a critical piece of this Netrunner kind of feel at this point, but you would still try it. Like, that's the thing is, you would try it.
Well, and if there's an active game, and the other thing is Wizards is big, and they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
So, like, if they come out with a game in this system, you can bet that they're going to do it well. It's going to have good designers, it's going to have good art, it's going to have good support, and they're going to go wild on it.
They've got Lucas, right?
They literally have Lucas,
and that's
who was
the other
the
thing.
main push on Netrunner.
There's a lot of speculation about like, they took Lucas, and then they took the Netrunner license, and so now they're going to reboot this game with the the kind of same team.
I saw him post, by the way, that none of his work currently is touching any
I
of that.
believe that.
Yeah.
100%.
The other thing is like, unless Wizards was literally lying or like intentionally deceiving, the way it all stacks up makes me think that this was not anticipated for a while on the ANA FFG side.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what happened or what shifted or what changed, but I have a feeling it won't just disappear.
Right.
Like, I think there's too many people that love this game and an active license that someone will get it.
Quite frankly, the system is just too good.
Yeah.
On its own. That kind of stuff just doesn't go away whenever it's that good. So we have Matt Dawkins, I saw, he's a friend of ours that we actually met in Colorado at a Netrunner tournament. He has a theory about Cyberpunk 2077. I saw it on his Facebook. Actually, Jonathan told me about it. That maybe there's a license that they're trying to just apply that skin to the Netrunner system and go. Could also be a Bladerunner thing. Could be their own in-house. Could be the original Cyberpunk 2020 or whatever it was.
There could be an outside entity that already has the Cyberpunk 2077 license and made a better offer to Wizards.
That's it. Yeah.
Like, maybe someone was willing to just pay more, and then, it's like, you don't want to get down that rabbit hole of negotiating where, like, if you're willing to keep up your bid, Wizards will keep pushing you until you say no, and then be like, okay, we'll go back down now.
All right. Well, let's get back. We took a little time out to get some more information because everybody's very interested and invested in all of this.
Everyone in the office is like peering over the podcast here.
Yeah, to the Cyberpunk 2077 point, you have the Gwent game, I guess, that they're already doing online.
There's basically a card game inside of the Witcher game that you play, and people were literally playing The Witcher to get inside the game to play this card game.
Oh, fascinating.
And then they made its own thing. Its own thing you could play.
And they're the ones that made Cyberpunk 2077.
That's right. So technically, they're like 2 buttons away from an agreement with Wizards to get this game, digitize it, and we're off to the races.
That's fascinating.
And who knows, maybe Netrunner will be a game inside of the Cyberpunk 2077.
It's easy it's easy to go down these rabbit holes, isn't it?
That's the interesting part, right? Like, if you're a Netrunner player, it's like this could either literally be that the death knell, right? Like the sad, like, oh my god, this game's going to go away and I'm not going to be able to play it in the future. It could also be the most exciting and best news for the game ever.
The game in terms of the system itself.
The system itself may get bigger, better, stronger, more marketed, more support than ever.
But if it just becomes a digital card game, like, so much of what we all like about all of this is just gone, right? Like, who wants to get 200 together in a convention hall and stare at a screen?
Well, we can answer some of our questions down here. But the short version of that is, like, there are plenty of people that play on Jinteki. So, like, I'm going to guess there's some percentage.
I played a lot on Jinteki, but I'm testing for a real life event,
Yeah, but, like, digital card games are real.
They are real. And we got to cover that in a future podcast because it's a thing.
I think we get there. Number 3 here on the questions. So you want to get some questions?
We need to get it. Hold on. No. Wait, this is going to be a long one. We're going to do this. This is going to be a long one. I know it's hard to not make a joke there, Zach. I heard that laugh.
I watch a lot of The Office. I'll just say that.
Tell me this one thing. I need to cross
that bridge. I need to be able to make that joke online.
Tell me this one thing. Is this, as many people have speculated, is this proof that the living card game model just doesn't work? Is it more proof? It worked for 6 years.
No, I don't think this has anything to do with the model at all.
And we don't even know, and to be fair, that question doesn't even make sense because the living card game model doesn't even exist. Yeah, I don't even know what a living card game is.
If you can define it, I would love it. Because I used to think it was once a month releases, but that's not true.
That's gone.
But that said, look at Lord of the Rings, the card game. Right, the LCG.
Cooperative.
That thing, it doesn't. Regardless, the LCG model, it's an LCG, is working. Arkham is killing. The other Thrones is still around, like over a decade later.
Thrones. We still got plenty.
The problems aren't with the model. The problems are with the fact that you're printing something that you can't change later, and you're not building into your system a way of altering that.
Well, and at this point, I guess the model is just a non-collectible card game.
Yeah.
That expands. Like, can that work? It can totally work. Yeah, that can work. I don't know. There's a lot of ways perhaps it could have worked a lot better throughout the history of these
I think it could have been done
years,
a lot better, but like that's
That's speculation, and looking back is really easy. So let's go to one of your questions.
Okay. All right. So if you're unfamiliar, you can use the hashtag AskCovenant on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we answer your questions right here on the show. We literally will talk about whatever it is you watching it is asking us about. So ask away. We would be happy to answer it right here on the show.
Talking to you, podcast listeners.
Question number 1. Yeah, if you're listening on iTunes, I get it's hard to ask us a question.
It's really annoying, but
But just go to social media and post it somewhere and hashtag it up.
Yeah.
Anyways, question number 1 here is from Ray Rahan.
Ray
Rahan. He is a
Speaking pig
local.
Latin.
I played him in the first round of the tournament, and we both killed each other, which is
Same
normal.
time?
No, like different. We both as corp. Anyways, he says, I've been a local player in your store playing Netrunner for almost 5 years.
Thanks, Ray.
You've
been awesome too. We love you.
The recent news is similar to a death in the family. It also makes me not trust FFG, as there was no warning or lead up to this. My question is it ever safe to fully invest in a competitive game like Netrunner, or will there always be a fear of the game being cut off? Could the same thing happen to Game of Thrones or Destiny? How has Magic the Gathering lasted 20 years? And then there's even more questions. Do you think this was handled well by FFG? Have they alienated a large part of their player base? Live
like a scorned lover.
Like a scorned lover, I'm going to have trouble immersing myself in a game in the future. Also, I love your store. If anyone's traveling through town, I would suggest a visit.
Nice.
Can you
Just
add a
plug
good
ourselves.
coffee to the menu? Cheers.
We got a coffee
Maybe.
shop next door, right?
Maybe.
We can't compete with that.
I do understand. They close at 6, though.
They've got a $6,000 machine, $8,000
Don't
machine.
you want to have coffee
over
at 7 p.m.? I heard about your recent
Oh,
story.
man, never.
So breaking it down here, first one, is it ever fully safe to invest in a competitive game like Netrunner, or is there fear of being cut off?
Never.
Games
It's never
can
safe.
always go away, right? Anytime you have a product or a game that is being expanded upon on a consistent basis, a billion things can go wrong.
Why do you think people are so, can get so angsty about things like release delays or like a bad rules change or a balance going off? It's because we all know that everything is always on the precipice of never being printed again.
Yep, and it could be licensing, it could be printing issues, it could be product delays like Star Wars LCG, it could be licensing like the Netrunner game, it could also just be the players stop playing. I've seen that happen too. The other thing is just built into the question, right? Is it ever fully safe to invest? The trick for me is if you look at the past 5 years playing Netrunner and buying all that product, you can do the math on whether that was worth the time and money spent. And for me, I feel like that's an obvious yes, it was worth it. It is frustrating that it's not going to be here anymore.
Right.
But I think part of your frustration is built into the fact that you valued this so much.
Right.
So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Where it's you have to allow yourself to be in a position to get upset this much, to enjoy something this much.
But is it safe to invest in anything is a question that the answer is no, right? It's I don't know that the coffee that I love drinking will be produced for the next 20,000 years.
Yeah.
Even look at a hobby like kayaking, for instance, a weird hobby that just came to my mind. Small boats in the rapids. I may be I'd love to get a Dagger brand kayak. Is it safe to do that? And it's once I buy it, I own it.
Yeah.
So after that, it doesn't much matter. So everything that you bought with Netrunner, you've invested in and you have it. I mean, you own it. That's one of the things about a physical product, which is quite different from a digital card game where I might spend thousands of dollars on digital cards. And if that system or platform just stops being a thing,
your money's
you
gone.
literally own nothing.
Yeah.
So at least you have, and that's the key thing that is about physical games, is you have this forever. Everything that you've ever experienced in Netrunner, in terms of the games themselves, you can experience again. And if the community wants to make it happen, it could be that too.
Well, and I think that's where if you define safe as this will forever be a usable card in a game that is continuing to have expansions and events that I can go to,
right?
That's never possible. Even Magic, that's not possible.
And Magic's on a downturn right now that people are always worried
super
about.
Concerned about,
this
right?
could be it.
And so, the next question was, how has Magic lasted 20 years? There's a lot of reasons
Focus.
that Magic is Magic. Super focused company. This is original game, original IP. There's nothing licensed.
Really
it was the
first
first
to market.
CCG to market. Huge audience, right? And they've also made good decisions along the way to stay in the game. But they're the exception, not the rule, right?
They've invested. If you look at how much money has been invested in Magic by Wizards versus how much was invested in Netrunner, there's your number.
Yeah, it's
they've
insane.
spent so much time making their one game successful as compared to printing 6 LCGs and board games and miniatures games, etc. So there's just no way. I mean, it's going to be safer when you have one thing that you care about versus 20 things.
Sure. And then could the same thing happen to Thrones or Destiny? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, those are actually both licenses, so technically Thrones and Star Wars licenses could go away.
Let me tell you something though. Let's just crack into that for a second. If the Star Wars license goes away from A&A, it's done. Right? We all agree. If they lose X-Wing and Destiny and Imperial Assault and Legion now, which is,
And the RPG, they've been making consistent RPG products for years.
I don't think
it's a big thing.
They can't lose it, Zach. They can't. They have invested so heavily in Star Wars.
Every company that's ever had the Star Wars license has lost it.
Well, that's true. I would say it maybe is the safest of their games at this point because they, like Wizards, would invest in Magic. I think Fantasy Flight will invest as much as is needed to hold on to Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, hopefully
obviously
Star Wars. It's
the
really,
card game is a great example of that not being the case.
That's right. But they had X-Wing.
Do we think it was handled well by FFG? Like I said, it's weird. I mean, it's hard, and I don't know. I don't know if it's worth making the differentiation here, but I don't think it's an FFG problem. This is an ANA problem. It's an ANA decision. Like they are now controlling distribution and financial decisions of that kind. I think FFG was probably told by ANA, hey, we're not going to produce this anymore. And they were probably crushed.
Yeah.
Everyone that I know at FFG who loved that game, and everybody did, even playing it on their lunch breaks, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody's feeling the crush.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of like we referenced earlier, it seems like it doesn't make any sense for them to build hype and get people reinterested in this game to then just kill it. So was it handled well? The only way it could be handled better is if they'd actually gotten the license.
I don't know how you handle the
like,
game dying
well. If you get the license ripped from you, surprisingly, we don't know what those conversations were like, so we don't know if that was handled well.
It's
but
hard
then
to know.
Once you don't know, hopefully, and they didn't say this obviously, they let the community know as soon as they could. So that people would not have false ideas about what's going on.
Maybe.
But that's where you mentioned earlier of like some of the little things that seem off are like you reprinted the core 2.0 core set, it sold out, so you reprinted it, right? And then a couple days after retailers had the ability to purchase that reprint is when you announced the game's going away.
And you know the crazy thing about all of this is like that could be totally unrelated.
So it probably is.
They could
That's
have
the
had
crazy
no.
thing.
They could have put a date on the calendar 2 months ago and said, "Get all of your materials ready. We're going to announce this thing." And it just so happened that the game showed up on that week.
And I'll tell you what would have been worse is if they had announced this after Reign of Reverie.
Yeah.
Because if Reign of Reverie comes out and it's awesome, like I expect it to be,
People would be.
And people had bought it and they're bought into the revised core set and they're all getting started on it. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, by the way, that thing you just bought is for a game that that's the last thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say if they handled it well.
We don't know the conditions.
Yeah.
So how can you say it? But at least the article was pretty okay. It was pretty nice. You know, you had Andrew's comments, you had Bog's comments, you had what seemed to be an emotional connection with the disappointment that was losing this game. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to ever say it's handled well. It's like always just kind of annoying and angry and
it's an uncomfortable situation.
Sadness.
I mean, I don't think there's a good way around it.
Yeah,
so, and then last question from Ray on his slew.
Have they alienated a large part of their player base?
Have they alienated a large part of their player base? Maybe. I don't know. They could have avoided it even if they did.
Yeah. I mean, what
do you do?
I guess what were the expectations?
Yeah.
If you expected it to go on forever, I guess it's just kind of like that's just not the case for any game. So like if this is your first time in like a really community, you get burnt. Like we got burnt. Once you've been burnt once, you kind of just kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean our original burnt story was the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars game,
Star Wars
which
TCG.
is they have Worlds at Gen Con, they've announced previews for the next set, and then you literally never hear about it again.
Yeah, we got burned on that. We got burned on Spoils. We got burned on Monster Apocalypse in a big way. Man, there's been a lot of burning.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people where Netrunner, and that's why I think it was so special. I think Netrunner was the gateway for a lot of people into this kind of community.
Yeah, that had never been involved.
And so you're witnessing those people, and the people that are still around in Netrunner are probably those people.
Yeah.
It was like, this is my first, this is my true love, et cetera, and then it's like heartbroken. And that's what it feels like, right? People literally feel like they've lost a person or had their heart broken, been betrayed, and they're frustrated.
Yeah, to that, I'll just read old Scott Spags, one of my favorites. Really turned into a really great friend. Guy, this is the kind of story. I would never have met Scott ever. Well, maybe not.
Unlikely. Less likely to meet.
But and we have a very distant, occasional seeing each other at events relationship, and it's awesome. And I love the guy. He's great. What he posted to his Facebook about the news said, well, due to whatever petty squabbles, financial concern, or unknown causes, my favorite nerd hobby of the past 6 years has been canceled today. I hope you don't mind me reading this, Scott. It's public consumption, right? That's public. Netrunner was not only my game of choice and my lifestyle game, but the best card game I ever played, full stop. I've met so many good people playing it and had some wonderful times, enjoyed so many memes, traveled, and made some great friends over the course of playing Netrunner. I don't know what else to say. This probably seems goofy, mourning a game, and it is. However, it was real to me. curse word that I won't say.
He said that? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he
Just
censored
kidding.
himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's super sad.
And that's this feeling that I think a lot of people have. It's just like, listen, it's not like, why you sad, it's just game kind of stuff. It's like, it's a community of people. It's an entire lifestyle, really, that is very meaningful.
Well, and that's what, I think is another interesting little just factor in all of this is the response post, right, was like, there was kind of a run on the product.
Isn't that crazy?
Seemingly online of people like, oh man, I better get this while I can. I love this game. And even Rain and Reverie, people freaking out about making sure they get it.
It's already gone. Distribution, it's all gone.
And but the interesting thing for me is like, I wonder because a lot of people cared about this game. And now that it was kind of bouncing back, they were starting to enter the conversation again.
So close.
But that's where it's like, I wonder if this, that crowd had been supporting the game the whole time, if the perceived value to someone like A&A of getting the license would have been worth enough to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
And I have no idea on the numbers. I don't know if it was even like in the ballpark. But
I wish we knew so
obviously, if Netrunner's selling twice as good as it was,
well, I mean, I feel that way.
It's more appealing to keep it.
I mean, I take some of that because, I dropped on around the Mumbad times and had always been like, I'm really close to getting back in,
But
like
not quite,
Thursday.
Yeah.
But of all of those people that I think were on the same page, it was actually about to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the sad part.
Actually had my hands on cards again, actually was looking at products to buy. And that's the disconnect that is unfortunate that exists, where you have a big entity up here that's making a decision. This is how business works, right? That can't understand what's happening on the ground unless they really want to reach out to retail stores and be like, hey, give me a subjective sense. Because they might look at the past 6 months of sales and say like, well, it's just not worth it. Whereas if they could see the next 6 months of sales that was about to happen, it would be so worth it.
Yeah.
And that's the real bummer.
Part of that too is like the recognition that the game shouldn't have gotten where it got. That could have been prevented, right?
Yeah.
And then not only that, but like it just could have been, I guess, supported stronger, right? And like lesson learned. And so it's not all on like people not buying the game. It's like there's a reason you weren't buying it. But at the same time, it's like if you don't buy it, that's a sure way for a game to go away.
Sure.
Like,
and this gets back to kind of one of our perennial questions is, well, who's responsible for that? Because you have stores across this country that are making money on Netrunner products that are just being there and saying like, oh, there are Netrunner players, I'll sell them their packs, maybe I'll host a tournament at the end. Like, who's running the promotions to get new people in the door? Like, who's saying the revised core set is here, we're going to package it with the last 6 packs and sell it for cheap,
Yeah, but that's also where it's like, that happened, right? The revised core set came, there was or wasn't promotions, but it seemed to be turning around. So like, had the revised core set / rotation / MWO list been a year earlier, or you get
that's true.
You get 6 months and the Mumbad cycle happens and it's like, this ain't good.
I think there was the assumption that we had time to get there, and then the licensing conversation happened maybe sooner or different than expected.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we've got some time to make this bet. We don't need to make it now because we've got all these other things that we're working on, but we do want to make it, and Netrunner can limp along for a little while and then we'll give it a boost, but it just came too late.
It could be, it's a little go back into conspiracy theory mode again. It could be the inverse too, where it's like, maybe it is successful, would have been successful, and the truth is that A&A doesn't want to pay a licensing fee or keep feeding money to a potential would-be competitor of Wizards of the Coast. And so it's like, well, we'll just focus on our other games.
Or they'll make a new Android game. Yeah. And there's speculation that, you can take this universe and make a new game of it. I do not envy whoever's on that task.
Yeah, good luck.
Because you take this theme and you try to put it into any other system and the comparisons will be immediate, and I just don't think. It's kind of like Star Wars. It's like you're going to compare everything to Empire Strikes Back, and that's just almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, you're immediately competing with one of the, objectively, whatever that means, greatest movies of all time. So anytime you put one out, it's like.
But if there's a cooperative Android game, bring it on. Now, that said, people loved the Netrunner system, let's be honest. Yeah. That's really why people were there. But
all right,
I would play a cooperative Android game.
Question number 2, still on the Netrunner side of life. Sal V asking a question
we're not leaving,
like he does often. I know we're not leaving anywhere. He says, how does the demise of such a beloved game affect you guys as retailers and your community? What are your plans as a store now? And do you begin to look for another game to fill its eventual absence Thanks, you all rule.
Thanks,
Thank you, Sal. You ask a lot of questions, and I really appreciate that. So there's a lot of angles here, but it's not like, first thing I just want to mention is like, it's not like we have a quota of games that we are trying to maintain at all times, and we're trying to fill that slot as soon as one game leaves, right? As much
Just
as
whatever
whatever fits
fits.
and seems to make sense, and is something we're passionate about, and is something we think we can build a community around, which is we're always looking for those kind of games, regardless of whether Netrunner is going here, there, or anywhere.
I mean, as retailers, like real talk, it is awful for us because we spend a lot of years building a subscriber base of people who are getting data packs and deluxe boxes and stuff from us. That goes away immediately.
We designed data tokens. We did the
data token sales
series.
probably go away. Learning Netrunner series.
We literally, I mean, we just built a whole blog video series called Learning Netrunner.
Don't talk about
that is geared.
It hurts.
I mean, it's why we're here, but it's geared to get people into Netrunner, or make it easier for them to get a Netrunner. That essentially died on Friday, or mostly died. I mean, people might still learn Netrunner from Learning Netrunner for years to come, which would be great.
It's just not like,
but it's like,
we can't sell product.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of effort and money and
difficult.
time and marketing that was spent on an effort to get people into a game that's no longer going to exist. That's not great. So it's not great, and as people, we're feeling it too because we love this game. In our community locally, right? I mean, we have Netrunner players that have been coming like Ray for years.
Yeah.
So that's not great. In
It's a bummer.
any facet of that at all. But on the flip side, I think people that are a part of a tabletop gaming community, and these communities are incredible. Like it's the magic behind.
Once you get in one, you're looking for the next one.
Yeah, and we immediately saw that locally. People are like talking about getting into Thrones or Destiny or X-Wing or whatever. But the problem is,
L5R. Sounds a lot of L5R.
You can fill that void with another game, not to make a relationship analogy here, but
sometimes it's just never as good, right? Because you're always chasing as good as it was, and unfortunately your memory continues to make it better over time. But
just like Empire Strikes Back.
Like Drayton, for instance, he was telling me, he was really involved in the spoils, and just that was it. I mean, and I understand that because I felt that way for a long time too, until I found Netrunner actually. But that was it. Like that was the game and the community that was just like, this is it. And then that one, it died 1,000 times. And then Drayton tried some various games, and it was like, okay, I'm a part of this community, and I understand it, but I just don't really like the game as much.
Yeah.
And then got into L5R finally, this is the one that is as enjoyable as Spoils was, and I get the community too. So it's a double-sided thing. You have to actually enjoy the game as much, and you get the community side of it too.
Part of the connection with the community, right, is not only are you enjoying the game, but when, it's like I go to Star Wars Celebration, I've gone to the past two, and like when you're around people that are as passionate as you about a thing, there's a certain kinetic energy that happens inside that community, right? So if you just walk into Thrones and you're just looking for the community void to be filled, it's not quite the same as if you actually love Thrones, because you're just not quite as connected, right? It's not the same. So it's hard. It is very hard for that to happen, and for anyone in the network community that feels like they've lost their home, I really do hope that you find a community that gives you that feeling again, but it might not be right now.
And if we can offer anything, literally, Zach and I, all the way up from 14 to now, have been through this many, many times together. So it does get better. You get through it. The grief passes. You find the new game. And
it was kind of like, I remember back in the day, it was like, I will never find a miniatures game I like more than Monster Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Right, and then X-Wing says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
I
feel the same way about God Tier now. Actually, like I'm more in for God Tier than I was probably at Monpoc originally.
Yeah, and I have no doubt you'll actually feel that way. So times change, life goes on, seasons change. Yeah. So if you are sad and depressed, it's totally fine, and lean into it. But at the same time, there is hope.
There is hope.
I think we'll
get through this together. And hey, we're all still here. And you'll still, here's the cool thing too, you'll still see those people at conventions and various other gaming events throughout your entire life.
We still meet up every year at Adepticon with the Monpoc crowd from Chicago. Yeah. It's great.
You Netrunner players, you're always going to be in the hot tub together. Yeah. Let's face it.
Let
me run into, I've got a couple of things that I think are worth mentioning because we haven't really talked through essentially the clarion call. The flag is always raised whenever this happens, and it's like, we're going to keep this thing going. Like, the players can take it upon themselves, and they often do, and they have. Dude, the number of games, like you see, oh my gosh, the number of games that have died and are still around 30 years later, 20 years later. It's there. There might be 10 people, but they're always there.
You know what's crazy?
Playing them.
Star Wars TCG. This is a game that was around when I was very young and not old enough to really be buying cards. But like, it still has an absurd amount of players playing that game, which is impressive. And they come out, I think, once a year. They have a players committee that comes out with a set once a year, which is crazy.
It's nuts, right?
Yeah, it's like, I looked the other day, because, I keep my
They still
arms
have that like thick glossary of terms.
Yeah, yes, they sure do. But I like to keep a handful of decks around for games that I used to play, because now I just understand that games die, and this is part of the process, right? Yeah. And when I want to revisit Mod Podge, I can. I have 2 lists, and that's it. But Star Wars CCG is like, I was just poking around, and I was like, oh, look, there's Rey and Kylo in the game now, because they just keep making sets, right? And it's cool.
Cool.
It's cool.
Well, let me read something from Claire Walker. She sent over actually a little piece that she'd written, and I think one of the sections of it is relevant. It kind of frames this conversation. Saying many classic games that have only ever had a single edition with no expansions continue to see play, right? So we've got games like Sorry, Mahjong, Scattergories. Just the other day at my local game store, I saw some people break out a battered copy of Stratego. We can still play Netrunner as is, but other than simply continuing to play at home with your friends and family, what are some other strategies that will help A&R stay alive? And she gives 3 potential strategies. 1, invent other formats. House-rolled rotations of cards and local most wanted list, imposing restrictions, etc., which seems like an obvious thing. That's such an easy thing for a player group to do, to have like a council essentially that creates a new restricted list or a new MWL. Or you could literally roll a die 20 times, and those are like the packs and boxes that are legal. You could change up the format completely random every time. Number 2, local game stores can continue league and tournament play of Netrunner if for no other reason to exhaust their supply of alt-art cards and other FFG prizes. Once those prizes are gone, as long as players are still willing to plunk down their $15 for 3 months of league play or whatever, or $5 for the event, then you can keep doing it. Fan-created alt-art cards, etc. So that is an option. I mean, game stores could potentially keep doing that, and it's more interesting, I think, now and moving into the next decade of the game store than it has been in the past, because we all recognize that selling the product just can't be your solution. Amazon's going to win and is winning. And then number 3, encourage the use of proxy cards, even at a competitive event. So you can just say like, well, it's out of print, so you can just print them.
A lot of the Star Wars CCG stuff is that you print cards. Like they print the new stuff, and you print it at like a nice printer, and you cut it up and put it in a sleeve, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. The other thing I really like, and I'm actually getting into this because I have a lot of old Star Wars CCG and Star Wars TCG things, is making a cube.
Yeah,
make a draft cube. Like you could draft Netrunner forever. You have all the cards already, so build a couple of decks you want to keep around forever. And then you could put together a cube that you could draft 1,000,000 times. And it's kind of like a board game. Anytime you get 4 people together to play Netrunner, you're off to the draft races.
I have another thing I want to read from Ben, our video editor/producer. The first part of this I thought was hilarious, and I think that it's worth sharing. First of all, obviously it sucks that it's ending. I was just trying to get back into it after the monthly tournament we had. This singular sentence is on everybody's mind, because we all know that we were so close to getting back in. It's crazy. There's an immense amount of both sadness and guilt, I think, that comes along with that. Me moving closer to the store to have more time to be able to play games there, mainly Netrunner, L5R, and D&D. The most recent cycle has been amazing for the game, and with the new revised core set launching not too long ago, it was looking like a lot of people were dusting off their cards and getting back into it. Isn't that the truth? Then everything changed when the Wizards of the Coast attacked, which is an Avatar joke, which I think is hilarious. And it's true. And we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Can we get another question? Question 3?
Yeah. Next question here. Side note, on Ben's list of games, I didn't see Destiny, and I'm confused by that.
Yeah, well.
Just kidding. Question number 3 from Miso. He wants to know, with the dominance of Hearthstone, other games like Shadowverse and Gwent.
Hold on there for a second. I have been getting nothing but trouble for pronouncing it Hearthstone. Now, everybody knows, I guess, academically that it's supposed to be Hearthstone because you warm yourself around a hearth. It's a fire. But here's my retort to that. You know what?
Man, this is a subplot.
All I'm saying is, how do you pronounce Earth? And if you put an H on the front of it, why does it change? There's no reason.
From hearth to hearth?
Yeah. I don't say Arth. Well, I can't wait to circle the Arth another year.
The thing is...
the English language is crazy.
I've been saying Hearthstone so much because of the face Ben makes every time I say it, that it's hard for me to see it any
Like
other
when
way.
you call them like Chinese cartoons or
No,
whatever.
my really good friend Matt likes anime a lot, and I'll walk in and I'll just be like, "Oh, you're watching cartoons again," and like it just, you can see the like chill go up his back. Anyways, soon to be released Artifact by Valve and Richard Garfield,
incredibly
which I'm
interesting.
curious to check out.
Super
do you think
complex.
the era of tabletop competitive card games is coming to a close? He also adds, can live games compete with the level of gameplay that well-made online TCGs can now offer? Artifact in particular looks set to completely change the playing field, given that their first competition has a $1 million prize pool. Also, rest in peace, Netrunner. Heroes 2018 meta was looking very
Wasn't
good.
it?
So, I mean, we've talked about
shame.
this, and we've talked about this, and this is what I was saying earlier about the digital question that you were kind of posing. Do I think that the era of tabletop competitive card games is coming to a close? I do not.
Right.
But I do think that the reality, you look at Hearthstone.
Thank you.
And
I don't like it.
the thing about it is,
I don't
I don't
want it to
like
be
online
pronounced
card
that
games
way.
at all.
Yeah.
Side note, I get it. I get it when you.
It's mainlining. I mean, it's like you're there for to scratch the itch. I've been on Shinteki, and I got that way. When I was training for a thing, it's like, I gotta play another game.
But like, I guess it depends on the truth of the matter is that if you're gonna exist and survive as a physical game, you have to lean into what makes a physical game
Correct.
worth playing, and that is the other people that you're playing it with, right? Because if all you want to do is play a game, your phone's gonna win.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, at 8 p.m. when the kids go to bed, you can play a game. When you're out of town traveling and you're in a hotel room, you can play a game on your
Right.
phone or your laptop. It's so accessible.
and it can be way better balanced.
It can be retroactively balanced.
Right.
The numbers can be tweaked. They can do things that you can't do in physical life, and they're taking advantage of that, right? They have more access to people because you can run a Facebook ad and you click and you're playing a game like immediately. Versus like right now, get into Netrunner.
Sit
Good
down,
luck.
learn this thing, buy the cardboard. Yeah, it's nuts.
You have to learn it. Not only have to learn it, you don't have a demo on digital that's just walking you through how to do it, and then by the time you're done with it, you're ready. You're playing.
Right.
But it's hard. There's all this product you have to buy, right? There's not like this scaffolding learning of like upgrade your cards and add stuff to your collection as you go.
Yeah.
And we're going to pair you with players of equal collections and skill levels and et cetera, et cetera. So like, but the trick is you could build all that into physical games, right? Like I actually think like X-Wing is removing the point costs, or you could have a tournament format that is all about basically escalating people from like core set to into the game kind of things, and you could go down the list. You could have a digital version of your game that teaches people how to play, etc. But all that circles back around to me, which is like, stop trying to do all the things that a digital card game can do better in your card games, and start doing the things that you can't do in a digital card game, but you can do in physical.
Because
real
you
life.
got people in real life.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is ask yourself the question. We can't answer this question definitively, but what I can say is ask yourself why it's so sad that Netrunner is ending, right? If it was just because I'll never have the opportunity to play a game of Netrunner again, which is untrue, then sure, maybe you have no reason to be playing a physical card game. But if any amount of the reason was like, I'll never see this person that I met at the regional again, then there's no way that this is going to end. There's no way a physical format is going to end.
And that's where even prize, the $1 million prize pool. I get it. It's like I think they could do the like Magic better than Magic can do it. And I think Hearthstone,
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
is kicking Magic's butt.
Yeah.
Like just look at the numbers, and I don't even think it's close.
And then we got Artifact coming in. We've got Gwent. We've got it.
But now it's a scramble.
Magic should be running scared.
This is what happened after Magic came out,
Mm-hmm.
which is the first one comes out, makes a ton of money. Because like obviously, if you don't have to print the cards, you can retroactively balance it, and you can sell digital nothings to people. That's a great model. Like no printing, no distribution, no packaging, no storing, no distribution, no retailing.
It's crazy profit.
It's insane. So, but I think that space is about to get hammered with competition.
It's going to be insane. And here's the kind of the point in all of this. When we talk about cash prizes at physical tournaments, when we talk about pushing towards the competitive edge, that's what Magic did, right? We also talk about casual Friday Night Magic being a big deal, but creating this pro level player, getting big cash prizes, doing all of this, they're going to lose now and are losing because that can be done 1,000 times better digitally.
Yeah.
Game.
All it takes is someone that can offer a more competitive experience with a bigger prize pool.
That's right.
And someone's always, it's like the dollar menu race, right? It's like someone's always willing to lose faster.
Exactly.
So like someone comes in with a bunch of money, has a digital game, and says, if we promote this with $10 million in cash prizes, we're going to get all the players.
Right.
And when we have all the players, we'll get a selling product, right? But then like, if that works, right? If Valve wins, And there is the truth to like offering a better experience, a better game, more fun, etc. But like whoever wins, if that's the model you're using, the next person's going to come along and do the same thing, except for with $20 million.
Right.
And that's what we saw with Magic for a long time, where it was like Spoils came out and it was like, here's a bunch of money. And that wasn't the best thing about the Spoils.
Yeah.
Like,
it's true.
That wasn't their angle. They really, I think, should have pursued, and it actually ended up costing them the business.
And in the meantime, what did Magic essentially sacrifice to create that cutthroat competitive money environment?
Because if Magic was strictly Friday Night Magic, if that was the big draw, good luck.
Here's what they sacrificed is like everybody on this side of the table who has tried Magic or who has heard about Magic, some of them, if not all of them, if not majority of them, are always hearing, oh yeah, it's toxic. Like, oh, that community is not welcoming. You know, people make fun of you or they're very standoffish. So you're going to lose to Hearthstone. The end.
Well, and that's where it's like you have the online that's doing the competitive side better.
Yeah.
And then you have the other games in the industry doing the casual side better.
The community side better.
It's like, on the casual side of the spectrum,
Arkham,
it's
right?
like, is it Arkham or Magic? And it's like, well, probably Arkham.
Yeah.
It's significantly cheaper.
Things are about to change.
Yeah,
man.
they are changing. So, anyways.
We have anything else? I feel like we should just have a
there?
final on. We should just kill it there.
I think we had other questions. We'll get to those next week.
We'll get to those next week.
So, Netrunner, dude.
Final thoughts on there, and I kind of wrote some stuff down, but I don't have anything eloquent to say.
My grand conclusion is Netrunner is a game I loved that did something that you don't see in card games hardly ever. So I hope it's not the end for Netrunner. I'm curious to see what plays out if we actually end up getting more information. It's incredibly sad. It's really a travesty that it was bouncing back and then got the rug pulled out from under it.
That's the hardest part. You had so much hope. I think that's why it's so hard.
Yeah.
You actually, with Conquest, I was like, I think tanking. Like everybody knew. Everybody knew. It's like it's been.
So a better example, Star Wars LCG.
We knew that was
right.
tanking.
It's like 3 years beforehand. It's like mistakes were made. This is not what it should be. And it's impossible to fix it, right? Even you look at the restricted list, and it's like 29 restricted objective sets, 36 packs. It's like
so crazy.
Your batting average is like 5 out of 6. Like, that's a good batting average.
That's truly insane.
Anyways, but this is like, it felt like a revival and a return. And even Reign of Revelry, that was maybe the thing that got me most excited, because it was like, Rise Core set's good, rotation's good, new MWL's good. You're finally doing a deluxe that has nothing to do with the faction. It's all about a theme that gets equally good for all the different, runners and corps and stuff. And then just punt.
Yeah.
Game over. Not even punt.
Yeah.
It's like lights in the stadium go off. See you later.
I'll tell you. Here's what I want to do as a final kind of.
I just had a hilarious
salvo.
analogy, and then we'll get to your final.
Yeah, what's that?
The lights off in the stadium made me feel like what it feels like is that it's the last quarter of the game if you're a football person. Clock's running out, right? Hail Mary is thrown. Catch is made. Dives in end zone, touchdown.
Flag.
You're with your fans, so you're with your friends at home, and you're jumping up and down screaming, this is awesome. And then it gets reviewed, and Des Bryant doesn't actually catch the ball. Cowboys get knocked out of the playoffs. This is like 2 years ago.
Or lose the Super Bowl.
And they were gone to the Super
this
Bowl.
is a real story?
was actually real. So, yeah, it was the Green Bay Packers versus the Dallas Cowboys. And you know what's worse is the year and a half later, it was like, that was actually a catch. Like, we should have ruled that a catch. We originally ruled it a catch. It should have been a touchdown. You would have won.
That's a very fitting
but
analogy.
Too bad. But that's what it feels like. Where
I think
it's like,
this was actually a catch. I think they literally had it. And
yeah.
I just wish that I knew the reasons.
And the refs just decided to call it off.
Maybe,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that there are a number of good reasons, and there's a lot of legal reasons, I'm sure, why FFG or NA can't say why or how this thing happened.
Yeah.
And would love to.
But
I
that's
think
like,
on a lot of levels would love to.
Even the Cowboys, is like the refs are like, yeah, it was a catch, sorry. It's like, okay, what are you going to do about it? It's too
Yeah.
late. Game, like, move on.
Keep
Like,
playing
there's-
football.
The only benefit is like, go to the next game.
That's right.
Next year, because the season's over, you're out.
Keep playing football.
Anyways, that's what it felt like. It's that
Yeah.
same feeling where
Yeah.
it's like, you're in the game, the throw gets passed, it's beautiful,
Ah.
he catches it, and you're just filled with joy. And the reason it would hurt either way. Like, going to that playoff game and just losing would have been bad.
Yeah.
That's not fun either. But like, at least it wasn't like you feel like you should have won and you didn't win.
Yeah, you feel like
Yeah,
you
that's
won.
the worst.
So I'll say, I guess the one thing that I'll say is just a huge thank you to everybody out there who has enjoyed Netrunner, who has played Netrunner, who I met through Netrunner. I was extremely fortunate to kind of have a a good run with the game and be a somewhat familiar name for a little while in the community. That was super fun. That's never happened to me before in a game. And even doing commentary on the FFG streams, that was all so fun. And I know that there was a lot of people who were enjoying that and who thought that I had a lot to contribute to Netrunner. So that's very kind of you along the way, you guys, to all say those kinds of things and make me feel like I was contributing very positively to the community. That's a cool feeling. And then the last thing is just like I want to go over my most heartbreaking moment in Netrunner and what I think was like the most exciting moment in Netrunner for me. The first one, the most heartbreaking one, is the early Gen Con. This was like, I think this was the first or second Gen Con. And, this was back before we had a lot of community elements that were really like dissecting the game. And
it was early.
It was early. It was like the first or second Gen Con that had been out. And I put together a wizard deck. I think it was like the only wizard deck there, just because I liked him. There was like one asset pad campaign, and I was like, I'll trash that for one. But that was the only advantage that I had, and the Adonises. And so that was cool. And I had built, and I just built the back to basics stuff that I always do. Three of each breaker. I think I had some HQ interfaces in. I mean, it was like
it's fundies Netrunner back then.
And I had no idea going into Gen Con because we had done some testing in Tulsa, and it's like here's a lot of people that aren't talking yet, really.
Yeah.
That are getting thrown together, and I found myself in making the top 32 and feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. And then I think I was either going from 32 to 16 or 16 to 8, and it was a crazy game. And I had played such good Netrunner, such incredibly good Netrunner. And I was in a situation where I knew that, as I remember it, I could not get into this remote server, right? And I was looking at it and I was like, there's no way I can get in. I don't have the right breaker for this. And I don't have enough money to get into HQ or R&D. I've got an HQ interface out and I've got a medium with 2 tokens on it. And it's like, okay, I've got to make a choice here. I've got, 3 clicks to get the money that I need, and I need to make one shot.
Yeah, you get one shot. Not a
I can
chance.
see 2 cards in hand or 3 cards in R&D. I sit there for a while, and a person just sitting there's a Wayland deck, actually, I remember. And just sitting there, and I'm going, man, I got to make the decision, right? And I go in with 3 cards over 2 cards every time. And I made the run, and I said, I'm going to run R&D. If it's possible, would you show me your hand after the game? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Smiles.
Yeah. Well, at this point, because he knows he probably just won.
Yeah, so I run R&D, and I see 3 cards, right? First card whiff, second card whiff, third card whiff. And I'm like, this is my shot, right? I felt like I played my heart out to win this game.
And you gave yourself a chance to win the ball game, yeah.
Reveals his hand, and it is 3 3-point agendas.
That hurts.
I needed 2 points.
Wow. Right? So you could have scored all the points.
Dude, I left, I saw that in the hand, and it's so easy to beat yourself up about that. Like, you don't know.
You took the mathematically right choice,
I still to this day, but then I think, he hadn't scored an agenda in how long, and, I still to this day think how much I wish I had run his hand. Still. I wake up thinking about that.
That's
awesome.
Then
on the flip, probably a game that Mason is similar on the corp side.
Oh man, that is one of my favorite moments in Netrunner history.
That's actually on camera. That was our HAC finals, which was an incredible. Speaking of this community, an incredible effort doing this big regional tournament circuit. Whenever the game was stalling, and taking it upon themselves to do it, and we had great attendance, and everybody was willing to come out. And so I got to the finals, and it was Mason, who actually owns a game store now, right?
Yep.
Got to the finals. It was
Mission board games.
He and I, and and it was the final, and I was running Wizard again, and I was running that was the looking for work or looking for job. I forget what that was ultimately called. Whenever Spags kind of popularized it a little bit more, but it was all resources and career fair and that kind of thing. That old phase of the game that I really loved, and he had played an incredible game. I had played a really good game, but I was set to lose that game for sure. And
you were a pinch behind.
I was a pinch behind, and it had kind of started to get further and further behind. You get to that point where HB has kind of established the board. You didn't see those 2 points early that you needed, and so now you're like you need to see a fortunate turn of points at the right time. And we had gone back and forth, and it had been incredible. And you knew he put the agenda down to score, and that was the game on the table. And again, I couldn't get into the remote, and so you look, and you're like, well, I got to run the hand. And it's like I feel like he had been looking for like 5 turns for the final agenda
because he had everything else in his hand.
He was ready. I mean, he had the upgrades and whatnot, and I was kind of puttering around trying to get my board established. And so I feel like he finally scoops the agenda and puts it down. And then he knows he's got the game right in his hand. And I can see one card off R&D and one card in HQ, and I'm like, I got to take a shot at R&D. Yeah. And this is the crazy moment. You remember the game? Do you remember me
screaming?
Yeah, I do. Like hugging. And so we're in this room, actually. We're recording the podcast, and we're live streaming it, and this door was closed, and everybody outside was watching it on our TV out there. And it's got about a 10-second delay. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll just make her on an R&D. Pay the money, and Mason's like, all right, let's see it. He knows he's got it. I mean, he's got like probably 1 agenda left on like 20 cards, so no chance. And he flips it, and he's like, okay, just waiting. And I was like, that's game. And then he's like, no way, are you serious? And he looks at it, and he's like, oh my gosh.
Like throws it down.
And he's like, that's, and it's like that sense of both excitement because it's so crazy that it happened, but also it's like, but yeah, I should have won.
I mean, it was literally 1 click because that was your last click that turn. So it's like if you don't win, he wins.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that moment on the line.
And it was the game. And he had been training, and he and Sasha had been doing their thing. And this was Mason's moment. Honestly, I felt kind of bad about it, but just happened to show up. And so it's like, head in hands, like that was the most stressful thing. I can't believe that this paid off. And I'm like, oh man, I want to see the reaction to it. And so we open the door, assuming that everybody has seen the outcome, and we're kind of like, I think we were like doing like a side hug or something. And they're like, and Sasha's like, no, don't say anything. We haven't seen the run yet. And so we get to see everybody watch that final run. That card flips up, and then that room just explodes. It was incredible. And you were like screaming, and you came running. It was like I just won the World Cup or something. It was insane. And then we took like group pictures, and it was just a really amazing night. So that was certainly the most exciting moment for me in the game. It's crazy when those long shots pay off, and that's something that you just don't get in those kind of slog back and forth attack defend games. It was just those moments of complete excitement.
And that's definitely one of the strengths of Netrunner.
Yeah.
It's just that ability to Hail Mary, right? I mean, sometimes you get 5 cards and you get the points and you win.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for me, I just want to say a quick, like you said, to everyone watching, huge thanks to everyone that's ever watched our Netrunner, ever bought data tokens, the Netrunner pack subscribers. Everyone was a part of that community that came to the store, came to the regionals. You guys were always incredible. So to all of you, thank you very much. Of course, thank you to FFG for making the game and making it great.
Did an incredible job with the reboot, ultimately,
Lucas,
especially up front.
For his changes to the game. I mean, he was an instrumental part of the game up front. And Richard Garfield for being a boss.
Yeah,
like,
a boss.
Just being a straight boss. So if you're ready to get out of here, I have a question.
And Damon Stone, you gotta love Damon.
Yeah, the Damon era.
You gotta say thank you to Damon.
And the Boggs era at the end.
I'll never forget the moment in that Gen Con interview when he's like, perception is reality. I'm like, there's so many things I want to say right now, Damon, but we can't get into it.
He hit the right button on you. You can see your face.
The entire Netrunner community is like, not sure how to feel about this guy, and to this day, I still don't know how to feel about Damon Stone. I have no idea. So for that, he was incredible for the game because he was always the guy that was convincing you that harebrained theory that you had about the way things could work could actually work.
Yeah.
And so you would try it for 2 years. That was my story, at least. And then, of course, Michael Boggs took over, and from everything that I know and have seen and can tell in the general energy, why it's so disappointing is because he did such an incredible job essentially bringing it back, getting it back on track. So it's been a great run. And of course, everyone still has the cards. We'll wait and see how that goes. I mean, there's a lot of community leaders out there that could pick up the torch on this one. But of course, we have lost something. I mean, we've lost the perpetual energy that is a officially supported game, and that's not to be discounted. And it was an incredible run, and of course, we'll see all of these people for the rest of our lives.
That's right,
no doubt.
So I would love to know if you're listening or watching this right now, just like Steven told us about his 2 favorite Netrunner memories. I'd love to know, what is your favorite memory from being a part of the Netrunner community? And as sad as it is to say, until then, keep playing.